1948, the average American household made its own soap. Not bought it, made it. From two ingredients that cost almost nothing and produced a cleaning product that outlasted, outperformed, and outclassed everything the commercial soap industry has put on a store shelf in the 70 years since. Before this video ends, I am going to show you a 1947 household chemistry manual published by the University of Vermont Extension Service that documented the exact recipe used by over 60% of American households before the commercial soap industry spent $40 million in advertising between 1948 and 1955 to convince an entire generation that homemade soap was primitive, dangerous, and inferior. It was none of those things. The global commercial soap and cleaning products industry generates over $500 billion annually. A $5 recipe that produces better soap than anything on that shelf is not something that industry has any incentive to hand you. That is not a coincidence. You already know this soap. You have used it your whole life without knowing what it was. Castile soap, lye soap, cold process soap. Every artisan soap bar at every farmer's market you have ever visited is a direct descendant of the recipe your great-grandmother made in her kitchen every autumn for the cost of $5. You have been paying $8 to $12 a bar for a product your great-grandmother made in an afternoon for free. The ancient Babylonians produced soap from animal fat and wood ash as far back as 2800 BCE, documented in clay tablet records excavated from the Tigris River Valley. Roman legions carried soap made from goat fat and beechwood ash on every campaign across Europe and North Africa. In colonial America, soap making was a standard autumn activity on every farm and homestead from Maine to Georgia. Every household, every season, every year. 3 civilizations, 5,000 years of continuous production, all using the same 2 core ingredients your great-grandmother kept in her kitchen and her ash barrel behind the wood stove. Here is the science in 3 sentences. Soap is the product of a chemical reaction called saponification, the combination of a fat or oil with an alkali solution. The alkali breaks the fat molecules apart and reforms them into soap molecules that attract both water and grease simultaneously. Think of it like this. A soap molecule is a bridge between 2 things that normally repel each other. One end grabs the grease on your hands. The other end grabs the water, rinsing it away. Everything that costs $12 at a boutique soap shop is a variation of that one reaction happening in your kitchen for $5. I made my first batch 3 winters ago when I ran out of dish soap during a snowstorm and found a handwritten recipe card tucked into an old farmhouse cookbook my grandmother left behind. 3 ingredients listed in pencil: lard, lye, water. I stood in my kitchen reading that card thinking it could not possibly be that simple. It is exactly that simple. Here is the full recipe. And this is genuinely all you need. Ingredient 1. Lard or tallow. Rendered animal fat, pork lard or beef tallow. Available at any grocery store for $2 a pound. 1 pound of lard produces approximately 6 full bars of finished soap. If you rendered your own lard from the salt crock or confit process, this ingredient costs you nothing. Ingredient 2. Lye. Food-grade sodium hydroxide, sold as drain cleaner at any hardware store under the brand name Robic or similar. A 1-pound container costs $4 and produces multiple batches. Lye is the alkali that drives the saponification reaction. It sounds intimidating. It is not dangerous when handled correctly. Your great-grandmother handled it every autumn without protective equipment beyond a pair of work gloves and common sense. Ingredient 3. Water. Distilled water is ideal. Available at any grocery store for $1 a gallon. 1 gallon produces multiple batches. That is your entire ingredient list. Now here's the method. Measure your lye solution first. 6 ounces of lye by weight dissolved into 14 ounces of distilled water by weight. Always add lye to water. Never water to lye. Stir slowly until fully dissolved. The solution will heat to around 200 degrees Fahrenheit through the chemical reaction. Set it aside and allow it to cool to 100 degrees. While it cools, melt your lard in a saucepan over low heat. Allow the melted lard to cool also to 100 degrees. Both solutions must reach 100 degrees before combining. When both are at temperature, pour the lye solution slowly into the melted lard while stirring continuously. Stir until the mixture reaches trace, the consistency of thin pudding where a drizzle on the surface holds its shape for 1 to 2 seconds before sinking. At trace, pour into a lined mold, a simple wooden box or a silicone loaf mold. Cover with a towel and leave undisturbed for 24 hours. Unmold and cut into bars. Allow to cure on a rack in a cool, dry space for 4 weeks. After 4 weeks, the lye has fully neutralized through the curing process. What remains is pure, mild, effective soap with no synthetic fragrance, no sodium lauryl sulfate, no preservatives, and no ingredients you cannot pronounce. 6 bars. $5 total. 4 weeks of patience. Now here is the upgrade that changes the entire system. Olive oil substitution. Replace half the lard with olive oil in the same recipe. The result is a soap bar closer to traditional Castile soap, harder, longer lasting, and gentler on skin than pure lard soap. A bottle of basic olive oil costs $3. The commercial equivalent, a bar of marketed Castile soap, costs $9 to $14 at retail. The chemistry is identical. The markup is 400%. Now here is the second upgrade, the one that makes the system truly endless. Save your wood ash. Every fireplace, wood stove, or fire pit produces potassium hydroxide ash that functions as a natural lye substitute. Your great-grandmother did not buy lye from a hardware store. She collected wood ash through winter, leached it with rainwater, and produced her own lye solution at zero cost. The 1947 University of Vermont manual documented this process in full. It is the same process the ancient Babylonians used in 2800 BCE. Zero purchased ingredients. Zero ongoing cost. Indefinitely renewable. Why does a bar of commercial soap cost $8 to $12 when the ingredients that make it cost under $1 per bar? Why did the commercial soap industry spend $40 million in advertising between 1948 and 1955, specifically targeting homemade soap as dangerous and inferior? Why does sodium lauryl sulfate, a petroleum-derived foaming agent with no cleaning function whatsoever, appear in nearly every commercial soap on the market today? You already know the answer. The 1947 University of Vermont manual did not disappear. It just stopped being handed down at exactly the same moment that commercial soap advertising reached every American household through the new medium of television. Somewhere between 1948 and 1955, a skill that 60% of American households practiced as standard autumn routine became something people felt embarrassed to admit they still did. The Babylonian clay tablets are still in museums. The Roman soap formula is still documented in historical records. Your great-grandmother's recipe card still exists in farmhouse cookbooks across every state in America. Nothing about the chemistry changed. Only the cultural memory of how simple it actually is disappeared. I do not know what brought you here today. Maybe your household cleaning bill has been climbing and you started looking at what you are actually paying for. Maybe you have a wood stove and a kitchen and you realized you already own everything this process needs. Maybe someone in your family used to make soap and you half remembered it and started searching. Maybe you are building the kind of household that does not need a cleaning products aisle to stay clean. It does not matter which one. 6 bars of soap, $5. The same saponification reaction that the ancient Babylonians understood 5,000 years before the first bar of commercial soap appeared on a store shelf. Now you know how it works. That's the whole thing. Simple as that. See you soon. Next video, I am going to show you the one beehive system that generates $2,000 a year in honey, wax, and pollination value, and why big agriculture spent decades lobbying to make backyard beekeeping require permits in most American states. See you then.